Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Greg L. Davis, the author of a newly published book entitled Black Man, A Prophecy of Hope for the Times Ahead. And my book can be purchased at Amazon.com, Reader House, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads, Bookshop.org, through iTunes or Apple Books. And today's video is actually the second on chapter 1, which is entitled Born into This Struggle. If you're coming in on this particular video as the first one, I would encourage you to go back and take a look at the 4 other videos that precede this one. You may also want to take a look at the trailer. It's pretty cool. And you will understand that we're actually on a journey. For those that are purchasing the book and that are going to read the book, I am actually taking the time to do at least 2 videos per chapter on some of the more important points in the book. When you purchase the book and read it, you will find that there is a lot of content in the book. It is very rich in that regard. And I want to help everyone by basically in every chapter taking at least 2 of the big ideas and building them out for a better understanding. I know that the book is going to help you tremendously. I've gotten lots of positive feedback on it. And so today I am going to read a quote from page 11, and then I will work on the takeaway message for this particular video. The quote from my book actually reads like this: if you are a young African American or Black person making your way down the road of life, or if you are a youth in middle or high school and you are inspired to read this work, I will take a moment to speak directly to you. It is truly my heart's desire that in the course of living your life, you never see the day of encounter with a racially charged experience that threatens your life, limits your God-given potential, or devalues your worth as a person whom God has both created and loves dearly. However, even if you are fortunate enough to live above the race-based struggles that in one way or another severely impacted your parents and their parents' lives, please know that it is still critically important for you to not only educate yourself to gain a healthy understanding of the nation's race relations history, but also as an important part of your life's purpose, be fully committed to working to ensure that equality and justice prevails for all people. You owe this not only to yourselves and your children, but also the nation. I, as a Black man in America, over a long period of time, am making an observation today regarding what I have seen. And that is this: that our people, as it pertains to the knowledge about our history in America, are very challenged. Now, some of that is by design, because if you come up in a traditional education system, you outside of Black History Month are not taught much about the history of our people. You're going to have to go to different places in order to acquire that. You're going to have to be a reader. You're going to have to perhaps go to some Black institutions that really focus on education and have some of these works. There are now today in America a number of Black bookstores that actually have a lot of unique and cherished works that most Black people are not familiar with. But basically, you have to be very intentional in order to really understand American history from the perspective particularly of African Americans and Black people that have lived in this nation. So in the context of this quote, in the context of understanding race relations history, not just for young people, but for all Black people, I am going to make a recommendation today of 5 different works that if a person read at least one of them, it would be paradigm shifting. I mean, it would change the way you think. But certainly, if you, as a Black reader, read all 5 of these works, then I guarantee you the impact that it would have on what you know and your understanding of history and what's happening now and how that plays into the past and even the things that are going to happen in the future, it would take off. And that is what is necessary in order for us as a people to make the changes that need to be made. So I am going to start with the first recommended work. I have introduced this book before. This is a great book from the 19th century. The 19th century is when Frederick Douglass lived, and technically that's from 1800 to 1899. This is the Frederick Douglass collection. He actually had 3 works that he did during the course of his lifetime that were autobiographies, and this book features 2 of them. He was a slave who became an abolitionist and a great American statesman. I can guarantee you that reading his work, understanding his life's experiences and what our people were walking through during the time of his life, it will be transformational for you. So that is book number 1 from the 19th century. I'm going to recommend 3 from the 20th century, 1900 to 1999. The first being Stride Toward Freedom, the Montgomery Story. This is about the Montgomery bus boycott, the Rosa Parks experience. It's written by none other than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself, the man who actually presided over this boycott and stepped into history. In this book, you will see the formation of the movement, which was the civil rights movement, and how it would eventually change this nation politically, economically, and even socially. Our people would make gains in all of those particular areas. I don't think that any Black person can really afford not to have the knowledge and the understanding that comes from the struggles and the experiences that Dr. King and this generation of Black people had. The third book, also from the 20th century, From Slavery to Freedom, A History of Negro Americans. Now, for those of you who are perhaps not aware, prior to 1970, Black persons in America were called Negroes. And this book was originally written and published, I believe, in the 1950s. There's several other iterations. I believe the last one came up through the late 70s, early 80s, by a brilliant historian, Black man, Dr. John Hope Franklin. Now, this is a unique book. And if you only were going to take one of the 5 books I'm recommending, I would say this would be the one. Why would I say that? Because of the scope that it covers. This book actually reaches way back to the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th centuries, when we were still, our ancestors, that is, in Africa, long before the transatlantic slavery trade that took place. And then it goes into the transatlantic slave trade. And then it goes into chattel slavery here in America and our period of freedom. So this is a book that I think every Black family needs to have on their bookshelf. From Slavery to Freedom, A History of Negro Americans. I encourage you to read this book. The third and last book from the 20th century was published in 1988. It's called Reconstruction, America's Unfinished Revolution. Now, this book is just, it is hard to put into words what a work this is. It is still considered today the foremost authority on Reconstruction. Reconstruction was the period that immediately followed emancipation and the Civil War, and it ended in 1877. But for a brief period of time, black people in America, right after slavery, had rights that were political and social rights, and that were just off the charts. And then a process after 1877 of taking those rights away, and then we went into the Jim Crow era, and then with the civil rights movement that took place in the 60s, we gained some of those rights back. And now we're back in a period of actually taking some of those rights away. That's been going on for a while. So this book will help you understand the history that we have endured, we've gone through, and that we're currently going through now. I highly recommend you reading this book. And finally, the one book for the 21st century, which is 2000 through current, that's the 21st century, written by a brilliant civil rights attorney by the name of Michelle Alexander, The New Jim Crow, a book that is extraordinarily difficult to read, just from the standpoint of emotion and just the shock of the architecture that she lays out in this book, of the system that is designed to entrap black men and men of color legally and bring them into a place where we can legally be discriminated against. And Michelle Alexander lays this out in a phenomenal way. And I'm going to be talking about the system in chapter 2, and this is certainly one of the sources that I use for that. One of the other things that I will be doing in the future is posting a preferred readers list on my website. My website is www.gregldavis.com. And as you work through my book, which talks about the future of what we're going through in this current time, Black Man, a Prophecy of Hope for the Times Ahead, as you read the book, then I would love to have dialogue with you. You can actually contact me at info@gregldavis.com. Also, if this YouTube channel is valuable to you, then I hope you will subscribe and forward it on to family members and friends so that we all can be a part of this journey and be knowledgeable about the extraordinary things that are taking place that are affecting the history of this nation. And as I've said before in other videos, we as Black people, believe it or not, have the key. And I'm confident that if you stay on this journey, that you will see that and you'll be in a position to be really, really influential and viable in the days that are coming ahead. Thank you for your time. May God richly bless you, and may God richly bless your family.